So just going to share my screen and welcome everybody to today's, it's Wednesday. Welcome everybody to today's weekly roundtable. So we're all here to talk about humanizing transformation. How do we move projects and programs into people movements? And when we do that, of course, what do? We accelerate success. And that's a pretty cool thing to do, right? You know, because we're uniting everybody together. What I wanted to do today is I want to talk about something that we always work on with our practitioners and with our trainee practitioners. And this is a theme in the Dillon Way framework that is important for you in your practice, important for your team in their practice, important in the strategy of the project or program, and important for how you design the delivery of your project and program. So what is this thing? And as I've called today's session is I Know a Secret. And what I've done is for today's session, as I'm also giving everybody a little bit of an insight into our daily mission briefings within our practitioner and our leadership community. So when you are training to become a certified practitioner in the Dillon Way framework to humanize transformation in your own practice, we have daily briefings. And this is a daily briefing that I recently gave to our trainee practitioners and to our certified practitioners. And it's really, really important for us all to know. So it's something really, really valuable for me to share with everybody today. So let's crack on. I always give us a quote. I always like a good quote, as I say. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. It is so easy for us in the world of, transformation to get people motivated at the start and to get people inspired, and you think that you've done it. Yes, everybody's engaged. Yes, we've had those stakeholder orientation meetings. People are on board with us. That's brilliant. The project is going to be a success. Da-da, da-da, da-da. And what tends to happen over time is that motivation, which is a spike of chemical in our brain, that motivation, that chemical in our brain that creates motivation cannot be sustained. So what do we sustain it to? We want to shift motivation into continuous action, which of course is habit. And if we can focus on our own habits to role model them out, and the habits of our teams to role model them out, then that will ripple out to the people around us, the leaders that are sponsoring our projects and programs, the teams that are connected to our projects and programs, etc., etc. And also the use of habit for us in humanizing transformation is a very specific technique that we train practitioners to understand how to design into the delivery of projects and programs so that they become genuine people movements. So not about features and functions of shift, but habitual behavioral change that is consistent and has a cadence and a rhythm. Alrighty. So I guess why would be the first question that everybody would ask based on why habits, why can't motivation be enough for us to, connect with people in their brain and they feel engaged and they're saying yes? Why is that not enough for them to keep going? And, that is a really important thing. And it's because of who we are. It's because we are, in many respects, the product of that fourth industrial revolution. And the product of the fourth industrial revolution has set up our businesses, our operating models, our ways of working, even through COVID. COVID was a brilliant accelerant to shift towards being more human. But equally, if you think about how many organizations are struggling with how they agree and apply hybrid ways of working to organizations, we are still in conflict. We are still we're grappling with a lot of legacy from the fourth industrial revolution. So what am I talking about? Fourth industrial revolution was about how we made things and still make things faster and better? How do we connect things? How do we connect technologies together? How do we connect people to technology so that through technology they've got access? How are we able to, through technology, analyze data and access data? How are we able to automate things? So the fourth industrial revolution, which many of us are focusing on in our projects and programs, is absolutely as is as relevant today as it ever has been before. However, we really, really need to apply fifth industrial revolution thinking and practice onto our fourth industrial revolution projects and programs. And what do I mean by that? It's humanity. It's becoming human-centered. It is about mastering who we are. Who are we becoming? Who am I now? Where is my potential? And it's not just for you, it's not just for me. It is giving the space and time for every individual that is impacted as a user of our projects and programs to have that ability to explore and reflect. So it's really, really important. So we're marrying the fourth industrial revolution with the fifth industrial revolution. And if we are able to apply the concept of habit, which is rhythm and cadence and consistency, ACCA Fifth Industrial Revolution, to our projects and programs that might be about connecting people to new technology, that might be about using data in different ways to be more productive, that might be about automating processes in our organizations. That's okay. But if we can still get into the depth of habits and identity, then what we're able to do is we're able to bring people on the journey and sustain that motivation, because it shifts from motivation into habit. Hugely important. We have an approach and a step-by-step methodology for how we do that with human systems. But what I want to do today is, because we, of course, are the most important person, is I want to really talk about how we first can apply that to ourselves. Super, super important. So the first thing that we want to be doing when we're thinking about ourselves as a role model leader, as a practitioner of humanizing transformation rather than just projects and programs, is we need to understand these two numbers. And number one is 45%, and that's how much time in our day we are on automatic pilot. 95% is that's how many of the decisions we make in a day are on automatic pilot. So those two numbers show us that, the absolute untapped potential, the wealth of change and transformation potential, the energy for change and transformation that is in there, that those two numbers, that if we can understand it, harness it, and start to work on these two numbers, and not necessarily the conscious thinking, the pushing people to change behaviors and actions, but get into this area, we know that we have got sustained and continuous evolution of transformation over time. My goodness, if you can hear the energy in my voice now, then please take that on board, because the work that we do with our customers in this area is so amazing in terms of it's being fulfilling for us as individual practitioners, but also just seeing organizations shift from projects and programs being so difficult to people movements that are uniting people, and everybody's having a go, and everybody is involved, and everybody has a sense of belonging, and everybody is really working in a united front towards that mission and moonshot. It's wonderful. A couple of quotes here for everyone to take away. And I think it's really important, here, these aren't just quotes for the sake of it, but just to I guess, give ourselves time to reflect on them as well, Certainly the second one, we are what we repeatedly do, i.e. we become who we habitually are, i.e. identity at a human level is what we should be focusing on and placing a huge amount of effort and priority when we are thinking about our projects and programs around change and transformation, regardless of how technical they are, regardless of how structural they are. It's so incredibly important for us. Okay, so when we are talking about this idea of habits and bringing habits into our own practice, what do we mean? Now, if you go to the beautiful house of G, the house of Google, or your chosen global information hub, what you will see is a quagmire. You will see a myriad of different techniques and definitions and methodologies and philosophies around the world of habits. There's so much research there, and more as people are starting to recognize that the secret of habit in who we are, in our teams, and in how we design and deliver our projects and programs is where the secret to success comes from. More and more people are understanding this, more and more people are talking about it, but sadly for us as practitioners, that means that sometimes it can be incredibly confusing and difficult for us to know where to start. And what we would say is you've got to start with this concept of micro. Habit work, when you're thinking about changing habits, projects and programs into people movements, thinking about your own practice as a modern leader and practitioner so that you yourself can shift projects and programs into people movements, bring people onto the journey of humanized transformation. You've got to think small, you've got to think quantum, subatomic shifts to make macro atomic impact. That's what we're after. So it's always thinking about tiny. The other thing that's really important about tiny micro habits in your own practice and in the way that you design and deliver your transformation is this. So much around the world of transformation or digital transformation is based on separating business as usual to innovation. It's about having a difference between what people are doing now and where the future lies. Now, intellectually, that makes sense because we've got to keep the lights on and we don't know if innovation is going to work. So we want to separate it out and, experiment and practice and work out what works. And then hopefully what we can do is we can bring those two things together. But the reality is that bringing those two things together is damned hard. Why? Because we've already created separation. We've already created separation in the people who are the users that we genuinely want to unite in our transformation. They are the people that will humanize. The users are the people that humanize transformation. So what we want to do is we want to, right at the very start of our projects and programs, work out how we can bring the concept of innovation and the future into business as usual. And what that means in basic terms is how can we get people to start the idea of transformation in the practice of now, in the moments of what they're doing now. It doesn't have to be just change and improvement. It can be transformative micro shifts in now. And if we do that, there's no separation. That's what this framework is all about. And that's what we've standardized in the Dillon Way. So always start with the micro habits. I've got a lovely quote here from a video from James Clear, who is one of the three key kind of global gurus on habit work. James Clear is great because he's got a methodology called the 2-minute rule. And the 2-minute rule is a beautiful way to start thinking about your own application of habits. Because when we think about habits, we go, oh, there's this thing that I want to do and I'm going to start that. And it's January, it's the beginning of a new year and it's New Year resolution. And 6, I'm going to join the gym and I'm going to do 3 hours a day and la, 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 la. And the motivation, right? That chemical, the dopamine is there and you believe it. You absolutely believe it. And then 6 weeks down the track, not even 6 months, 6 weeks down the track, you can't understand why you didn't carry on going. Now, there is immunity to change in there, which is a completely different methodology that we apply to the framework. But equally, it's because what we haven't done is we haven't applied what's called the 2-minute rule. And that 2-minute rule is essentially what we call establish the habit. So in our framework, what we want to do is we want to understand habits based on 3 stages. Stage 1, establish. Stage 2, activate. Stage 3, embed. Everybody that we work with normally goes straight to 2 and doesn't start with 1 and doesn't get to 3. So what we want to do is we really want to understand these 3 things. We really want to understand them. So establishing the habit, as a very, very simple example, is if you want to run 5K every Monday through to Friday, great habit for health. But do you get up on next Monday and run 5K? No, that's activating your habit. That is not yet established. Establishing the habit is essentially getting your shoes on next Monday morning, your running shoes on, walking around the house for a couple of minutes, and then that's it. And doing that until you become the identity of a person that runs 5K every day, Monday through to Friday. And then once you've become familiar and habitual in putting your shoes on, then you can get out of the house and maybe go to the end of the drive and back again, and then beyond that. So there's a really great concept that is called From Couch to 5K. That is essentially how we apply micro habits. So what we want to do in our projects and programs, what we want to do in our own practice first, remember we are the first domino, is start to understand whatever project and program you're on, what are the role model habits that I should, for this particular project or this stage of project, what are the habits that I should be working on to role model out to support a ripple effect? And equally, when you're working with your teams on designing not just features and functions of how the project is going to be successfully deployed and delivered, you want to be thinking about how we're going to, for the users, help them establish, then activate, and then embed. So when your project is delivered on time and on budget, beyond that, you know that there is a human element of the transformation that has got sustainability, that has got longevity, that has got a self sense of evolution about it based on habits. Now, there is the 3 stage that we need to do, these 3 steps that we need to do. But equally, in order for us to establish that habit right at the start, it's not just about breaking it down. We need to make it stick. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier on, when you go out to the house of, G, you will find so many different words and definitions for how to make habits stick, coupling and anchoring and triggering, and goodness me, there's so much there. And that's, for us, really, really confusing. A really important element of humanizing transformation, of course, is simplifying it and contextualizing it for the individual in terms of human purpose. And that's part of what we've done here in our own methodology for micro habits. And how we make our habits stick is based through these 3 things here: linkage, integration, and reward. Now, before I go into explaining what these are, there is something really important that people miss. Just like people go straight to activate before they establish a habit, people go straight to making their habit stick before understanding their own anchors. Now, this is really part of the anthropology. This is observation that we want to gather. This is observational data we want to gather in our users, as well as understand for ourselves. What are your anchor habits? We all have anchor habits in our day. I have an anchor habit, which is every day at a certain time, I go into my Outlook. Whenever I stop for lunch, one of the habits I have, which is an anchor habit, and I've been doing it for years, when I stop for lunch, I just have a look at my emails. I just thread through my emails. It's an anchor habit. Brushing my teeth in the morning is an anchor habit. Getting up every morning at whatever time for you is an anchor habit. So it's thinking about what our anchor habits already are. If we understand what habits we already have that are anchors, that are things that we know we do all the time, regardless, then we can do something with them. We can use those anchor habits to make our new habits stick. And that's all we're saying here. So understand your anchor habits. with your teams in your projects and programs, start to observe and identify the anchor habits in the users that you are working to support. What are their anchor habits? And what's really interesting is that we worked with a big IT team on humanizing their transformation, which was a technology transformation. And what was really interesting is the IT team was split into 3 big teams. So they had technical support, they had software development, and they had architecture and maintenance and systems, etc., and networks and security. So they had these 3 teams. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to bring in a new piece of technology so that all the teams could start working together, and it would be brilliant. They'd be a unified team working in the same way using this technology. Now, that's not the case. We were asked to come in because it wasn't working. And what we did was we observed the rituals and the habits and what anchors these 3 teams had. And what we understood was one of those teams had a very particular anchor habit. What they did every single day, each and every one of them habitually went into a particular piece of technology. Zendesk for ticketing to see what had happened in the night and what tickets they got for the rest of the day. They had this particular technology that we're using. And therefore, once they were in that technology, it was too difficult for them to get out and start using the new technology that the organization wanted to get them to work. The CIO wanted them to start using. So what we did was we worked with those anchor habits to start introducing the new technology to them. And how did we do that? Through using different techniques around linking, integrate, and reward. So what do we mean by it? Once you know what your anchor habits are, what the anchor habits are in the users that you're delivering your project and program for to add value, is you can link it. And when you link something, think about a link in a chain. It means 2 things side by side. They're not the same. So when you're linking something, you're basically putting 2 things side by side. When you're integrating habits using the trick of integration, what you are doing is you are putting 2 habits together into essentially one. You're doing them at the same time. You're integrating them into one thing. So you can link habits that are side by side, or you can integrate habits that are inside each other. They become one experience, one parallel, seamless experience. And then, of course, reward is self-explanatory. A reward is we need to give ourselves reward. Hey, I did that. What am I going to do? How am I going to reward myself? So what do we mean? How about an example for linking and integrating? So linking could very much be along the lines of, when I wake up in the morning, that is an anchor habit that I would like to link into doing a little bit of meditation. So when I wake up in the morning, that's my anchor habit to first and foremost sit down and do a little bit of meditation. Or it might be, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to link that with sitting down and thinking about the 3 things that I'm going to do for the day, my 3 priority things for that day. You're linking the 2 things together. You're not doing them at the same time. You're getting up, that's an anchor habit. Then you're going to link it with your new habit. So the 2 support each other. Integrating a habit might be something as simple as you are building your frame of reference. So you want to widen your knowledge in a particular subject, and you're listening to podcasts, and it's great. Now you already have an anchor habit, which is at 5 o'clock every day, you go out for a 30-minute run. So if you were to integrate these 2 habits together, self-explanatory, isn't it? You might decide to listen to the podcast at the same time as running. So that's one experience, but 2 habits. So you're using an anchor habit to bring that new habit into play. Now start thinking about how linking and integration of new habits with anchor habits can really play to the power of transformation in your projects and programs. I can guarantee you, it is amazing. We've got so many stories around how that works. And notwithstanding, really thinking about that reward. So that's the actual specific habit itself. But of course, quite rightly, when we're in the world of transformation, when we're working on projects and programs, it's not just one habit, is it? There's so many habits. There's habits after habits. There's hundreds of habits that together over time will generate the identity that help the full potential identity of an individual, a set of users, or a human system to emerge. So we need to understand the system of multiple habits, the complexity of habits. How do we systemize that? And this is the real secret. This is the real uniqueness that we can bring to humanizing our projects and programs. And this is what we call the habit cycle. So the habit cycle is 4 stages. And the first stage is where we have a generic area of shift. Of course, that's that motivation that I mentioned earlier on, right? So it's, you know, it's the why. Why do we want to change? And it might be through necessity, but let's make sure that there's a user motivation there. So the first thing is the indication, the why we are changing. Let's understand that. Let's humanize that. Let's make sure that there's purpose and value to the area of shift. And then what we need to do is we need to break it down. So we need to break it down to establish that habit, just as I mentioned earlier on. Now, nothing new there, but this is where things get really exciting. For us in our work, what we do is we work with individuals and we work with teams to create habit plans. And these are online plans where individuals and teams and entire departments and organizations can see different habits that people are working on, and also the progress of habits from establish to embed and archive. And what that allows us to do in humanizing transformation is also stack an archive of amazing wealth data, which is the habits of people that have people have been working on even before I come to this concept. Which means that some people at the start can actually look at a great data bank of habits that are specific to this project, this program, and go, oh my goodness, somebody's already been working on that. So if Lisa's been working on that habit and she's already archived it and embedded it, I'm going to have a chat with her and see how she worked on that habit. And maybe she can help me and coach me and mentor me on that particular habit because they're aligned. This is a people movement, right? This is how we humanize transformation. So if you're thinking about projects and programs and wanting to humanize them, think about how you can bring the concept of habit planning to your project. And of course, the fourth element, which is very, very important for each and every one of us on today's session, is how do we role model? Because as soon as a habit is embedded, it is a strength. And it's a strength of relevance to the transformation project, to the transformation program that you're working on. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that 1 person, 2 persons, 10 persons, 100 persons, 1,000 people recognize that once a particular single habit that they have embedded as part of the transformation in themselves gets externalized out and role modeled, that they share it, that they teach it, that they coach it, that they mentor it, that they externalize it so that others can follow them. It's really important for us to have that role model element because that is how we build as well that movement. So we are stacking up all of these bits and pieces to our project and program. We are stacking it up for success from a human perspective. And the role modeling bit is super important. Now, just going back to this slide very briefly, that point 2, the habit canvas. This is a very specific piece of IP that we have built, and we have an online version of this that is available to all of our customers and all of our practitioners. And it's called a habit canvas. So it's a reversion of a business model canvas in order for us to use and see our habit on a page to work through it. And just in that, just very briefly, there's something really important here as well. What we try and do when we are designing and delivering humanized transformation is we try to use the techniques of modern behavior and ways of working in in our work, in our own designs, so that people don't even know that they are using something. So when something might be brought into conversation for them, they are able to have congruency, they're able to contextualize it with something that they've already been using themselves. So the business model canvas for us here is a habit canvas. So business model strategy on a page, if that comes into conversation with the leadership team, they know what that's all about, and they can lean into it, and they can you know, really adopt that and get involved with it a lot quicker. The other thing that we use is Kanban. So we use a lot of Kanban methodology, and the habit plan is very much based on the Kanban methodology. Again, organizations that are transitioning into agile ways of working, you know, with a leadership group, with a team, they might be introduced to agile methodology, agile ways of working, and be really, really unclear and scared about it. And what we can say to them is, that's okay. You've already been doing a lot of this stuff. You've already been working through the idea of Kanban and methodology because of your habit plan. And again, it's a lovely, lovely way of getting people on the journey and really bringing people on the journey of transformation with us. So what we do is we introduce this idea of habit canvas to our own practice. I still use habit canvases myself after 10 years, and all of our practitioners do. And we have live clinics, we have peer-to-peer reviews of our canvases all of the time. But essentially, for a single habit, what we want to do is we want to work through, so I beg your pardon, for a single indicator of shift, we want to create a habit canvas. And that's so important. I'm not necessarily going to go through each one of these with you, but what I will say to you is this. When we have point one, an indicator or theme, an area that we want to build a habit around, it's important for us to brainstorm it. How many right answers? How many habits could we generate around that one indicator or theme? That's what we do in the second box. And once we've come up with multiple different habit opportunities, habit potentials, we choose one, box 3, that is relevant to what we're doing now, relevant to where we are now. And that's a hint towards what growth phasing, and growth phasing is another technique that we all use ourselves, and we help practitioners design into projects and programs. And then what we do is we just basically follow this canvas. We follow it through to all the way down to the bottom to making our habit stick. And that is so incredibly important to us. Now, I am happy to share an editable PDF version of that habit canvas with anyone who would like that. So just let me know if you'd like a version of that, and I'm more than happy to send a free version of that for you to have a go at, you know, completing your own habit canvas just to see the power of it. But it's brilliant. And what we can do is we can keep coming back to these habit canvases. We can start to share them with others. We have something tangible to work on with a user group, with a group of people in a room, with a group of leaders perhaps in a room. We've got a standard template, and everybody can have a go at working on establishing, breaking down habits, establishing habits, understanding challenges and accelerators to habits, understanding what habits we might already have that we should release, etc., etc. So super important, that habit canvas. And as I mentioned, that habit canvas is an asset that is part of our own practice as either Dillon Way leaders or Dillon Way practitioners, which brings me to just to share with you all, of course, the Practitioner Leadership Academy that we all are united on. It is an online academy where we certify practitioners who are digital professionals, who are project and program leaders, who are modern leaders themselves, and also business coaches. So we've been practitioners of change and transformation, business mentors and coaches, and modern motivated aspiring leaders together into our academy to all unite and to certify in our framework, so that everybody can go out and professionally understand how to apply the framework to their own transformation. And when we humanize transformation, of course, what do we get? We get agility at scale, you know, and how many boardrooms now are saying we need to scale, we need to be agile at scale. What does being agile at scale mean? It doesn't mean transformation portfolio on time, on budget. It means humanizing the transformation. That's what Agile at Scale means. And that's where we can accelerate success. So if you would like to know more about the Practitioner Leadership Academy, please do be in contact with me. Obviously, I will send the email with the replay of today's session. And in that, I will share with you a link to strategy sessions, and I will give you that link so that you can have a strategy session with me. It's a one-on-one strategy session. It's 100% confidential, but what it will do is it will allow you to have some time with me to talk about how you yourself might be able to humanize your own transformation project and programs you're working on, or indeed increase your own effectiveness as a modern leader. Because every single one of us is a project or a leader in transformation, a project or program lead. Every single one of us should see ourselves as a modern leader first and a practitioner second. We really need that. So building our voice and our visibility, our credibility, our disruptive credibility within an organization as a modern leader first and a domain expert second is super important. So we can talk about that in that strategy session. Okay, very briefly, we've got a few minutes left on today's session. Banana skins. I always share with everybody some banana skins. And my first banana skin for everybody today is this: do not think in any way, shape, or form that you are bigger than the habit. We are not. And all of the research is there. And the research is being stacked up daily to support the fact that our thinking cognitive brain is not stronger than our automatic pilot neural pathway habits. It's not. Our habits are stronger than our cognitive brain because our habits are who we are. Habits are identity. Cognitive brain is not our identity. So please, don't fall into the trap of thinking, I don't need habits. I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. We are not stronger than our habits. And the other thing that is really important as a banana skin for us in humanizing transformation is, more often than not, when people think about habits, they default to what I need to develop. What habits do I need to develop? Where are my weak spots? Oh my goodness, I need to focus on this now. And every time I talk to leaders, I say, no, focus in on your strength. When you're working with users, identify the strengths that they have first so that they can role model them out, so that they can build their confidence. If you build confidence, you build courage. If you build courage, you build resilience. If you build resilience, people are going to lean into transformation so much easier than if you focus on development and weakness, because you're already off the back foot. You want to be on the front foot when it comes to transformation, and that's strength. Front foot, strong. Back foot, weak. We don't want that. So those are a couple of banana skins for us to think about when we're thinking about introducing habits. And all I want to do now is just to let you know that if you want to know more about habits, well, first and foremost, I would like you to engage with me and the framework, the Dylan Way framework, because we have so much value and wealth of experience to share with you. But equally, if you want to know a little bit more about that, how to establish the habit, go and check out James Clear's work. He has a great book called Atomic Habits, but he really gives you value when it comes to the breaking the habit down, the 2-minute rule. And then there is Charles Duhigg, and Charles Duhigg is arguably the father of the work of habits. So if you want to know about the theory, the understanding, if you want to bring context to habit before you introduce it into the design and delivery of your own modern leadership practice and the projects that you're working on, go and have a look at Charles's work on theory and understanding, because that's where you really get the context. And equally, if you want to just have a go, then again, let me know, join our community, because the Lead in 4D community, which is free to join, we're always putting out challenges, and we often put out habit challenges in the community as well. But equally, BJ Fogg is another from Stanford, is another global name in the world of habits, and he talks to tiny habits. And on his website, he has got a free 5-day challenge. So you can go and have a look at his free 5-day challenge, or indeed come into our community and join one of our very focused transformational 5-day, 10-day, and even sometimes 21-day transformational challenges. And that brings us to the end of today. I am bang on time at 1:45. So I hope that you have enjoyed today's session. It's been absolutely fantastic for me because you've probably already clocked it with my energy. Habit work is absolutely the secret to success when it comes to humanizing transformation and our own success as a modern leader. I really do believe that, and time again we see that in the work, in our work with leaders and organizations, trying to really succeed in and super ambitious goals around transformation, without a doubt. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day ahead of you, or a lovely evening if you are joining from another area in the world. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hang around for a few minutes, but I'm going to stop recording and just wish everybody well for today. And remember that every Wednesday, 9 a.m. UK time, you can come and join me on a leadership roundtable to talk about another tiny little aspect of how we can humanize change and transformation to accelerate success and to achieve that agile at goal. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm just going to stop recording and